Hello and welcome back to our series Strangers and Pilgrims, and now we are at Genesis chapter 20 and the story about Abraham in a different land. So Abraham lived in Hebron, the place where he met the three men, that one of them was God, and the two angels. He lived there for about 20 years. And then all of a sudden now he started moving to another place. And the Bible doesn't say here that there was a famine, for example, like there was a famine the first time he went to Egypt, he moved to Egypt. So why did he move? Some people think it's because of the destruction of Sodom. Because Sodom was close, and maybe after seeing that destruction, it affected him as someone who is sensitive towards other people and loving to other people. He couldn't tolerate staying in this place anymore. So he left and went to a different city, which is a city called Gerar, which is in the land of the Palestinians. And the king there, or the ruler there, was called, or the king actually was called Aby Malek. And Aby Malek is actually, like some say, it's a title of that person or of the kings of this place. And then we see that Abraham did the same thing that he did before. If you remember, one time before he went to Egypt, there was a famine, and he journeyed to Egypt, and he said about Sarah that she was his sister, instead of saying that she was his wife. Of course, Sarah was his stepsister, and he had a deal with her, like he said, that every time they travel somewhere, she says that she is his sister, because she was a very beautiful woman, and a lot of people that, you know, in places where there is not much knowledge of God would actually take her by force and maybe kill him. So he said, when we journey somewhere, just say that you are my sister. Some see in this a mistake by Abraham, and that this is maybe lack of faith from him, or this is lying. But actually a lot see in something different. Like, for example, St. John Chrysostom. He said about Sarah that she was his sister. Not only does he deliver from distress those who make every effort to strive boldly against the onset of temptation, but also he guarantees them such serenity in this very distress that we have complete tranquility and achieve great material prosperity. What does he mean by this? He means that Abraham was doing everything he could to protect himself and his family. Everything that's in his hands. So that's not considered something wrong. And even from the reaction, we see that God protected him and he took care of him. We didn't see here God rebuking him. So he went to that place, and Sarah said that she was his sister. So actually Aby Malek, the king, he took her to be one of his wives. But notice something here that is really kind of dangerous, that we're talking about the time when Sarah was pregnant. When Aby Malek took her to be one of his wives, this was the time that Sarah was pregnant with Isaac. So of course this is something that is really scary for Abraham and for Sarah. How can this happen? And we see in the story here, God came to Aby Malek in a dream by night and said to him, "Behold, you are a dead man because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife." So here, because Abraham, he did what he could to protect his family, but at this point he had nothing else to do. So who jumped in to take care of Abraham? God. He came in a dream to Aby Malek at night and told him, "You are dead if you touch this woman." Now Aby Malek had not approached her, so he said, "Lord, will you kill an innocent people? Did he not himself say to me, 'She is my sister,' and she herself said, 'He is my brother'? In the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands, I have done this." So the king told God in that dream, "This is not fair, I didn't do anything wrong." in fact, I am innocent, because he said about her and she said about herself that she was his sister. I did not know that she was married. Then God said to him in the dream, yes, I know that you have done this in the integrity of your heart, and it was I who kept you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not let you touch her. Now then return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, so that he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not return her, know that you shall surely die, you and all who are yours. So here we see that God is protecting Abraham. God is taking care of his children. This is something that's really important to remember. God is taking care of us, even when there is something that's out of our control, like this situation. Even if it's something that's dangerous. Again, like this situation. I mean, Abraham could have lost sleep, thinking about what could happen. What could happen to Sarah, what could happen to Isaac. But at that time, it was time for God to intervene. And this is something, again, very beautiful about God, that He is taking care of us even if we don't know. Even if we are... I'm sure that Abraham prayed for God to do something, but how would God act? He doesn't know. So this is also something that's really nice in our relationship with God, is if I am troubled or distressed or scared or don't know what to do, it's important to remember this and tell God, I need your help. I don't know what to do, but I need your help. And I'm sure that you are going to do something about it. And in fact, God did do something about it. Here also, another thing by St. John Chrysostom, he said, Abraham goes to Gerar. Had he remained at his former encampment, how would all the people of Gerar have been able to realize the degree of favor he enjoyed from God? And here he sees this movement from Hebron to Gerar and this story happening as a way of Abraham's virtue and righteousness, the news of it spreading to other people. Because if he stayed at his own place, only those people know him. But now that he went to a different city, now those people as well, the people of Aby Malek, will know how righteous this person is. And that's what God told Aby Malek in the dream. He is a prophet. Ask him to pray for you. So Aby Malek rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told them all these things. And the men were very much afraid. Everyone was afraid of Abraham. How could this be? A people in a city be afraid of a stranger that doesn't have anything to protect himself with. It's because he's enjoying the protection of God. So, lucky is the one that is protected by God, that enjoys this protection all his life, that is close to God and is sure and trusts in God's power and in God's love for him. This person will have, like St. John Chrysostom said, will have a tranquil and serene life because he's enjoying this protection. He's not worried about anything. Also, St. John Chrysostom said something about the king Aby Malek. The reason why the good Lord inflicted this penalty on the king, guiltless though he was of sin, was that he might accede to the just man's prayers and thus resolve the problem. So the reason why God appeared to Aby Malek is to protect Abraham and also to ask him for Abraham's prayers, thereby rendering the just man more famous and well known. But here we also see Aby Malek rebuking Abraham. When he woke up, he called Abraham and said, how could you do this to us? So St. John Chrysostom says about this, Aby Malek rebukes Abraham, but Abraham reveals to him why he did that. Notice at this point, dearly beloved, the just man's noble purpose in presenting them with a lesson in the knowledge of God under the guise of an explanation. Because when Aby Malek told Abraham, how could you do this to us? What did you see that you did this thing? Abraham said, I did it because I thought there is no fear of God at all in this place. So you see here, God used the whole story to let the people know of the righteousness of Abraham, to let Abraham rebuke them. Yes, Aby Malek rebuked Abraham for hiding that Sarah was his wife. But also Abraham rebuked them because he said, I did that, I hid that from you because I did not see the fear of God in this place. He preached to them without preaching. There was not the fear of God in this place. The last part of the story, it says that Aby Malek gave Abraham gifts, and he gave him a lot of stuff, and it added to the wealth of Abraham. God is not only protecting his children and not only protecting us, but he is also doing everything that benefits us. Even if sometimes we are put into situations that are not easy to deal with, that we don't have control over, God is the one that's taking care of us, and this is something that we need to trust in, and we need to ask God to give us this faith of Abraham, to pray and leave it in the hands of God. That's it for chapter 20, and we'll continue next time. Thank you.